Hello friends, Christy here with Little Roots Ranch, and today we're going to talk all about onions, specifically an onion trial that I'm doing, and I'm really excited to take you along and show you the journey. So this year I had my largest onions ever, and I credit that to the way I prepped the bed, which was in basically probably late winter, early spring. I put down a pretty good layer of chicken manure that was composted in with wood shavings. And obviously everyone knows that chicken manure, or manure in general, is an excellent fertilizer, high in nitrogen and all kinds of other stuff. And I like to use natural inputs, but any nitrogen fertilizer or whatever works. And they grew so beautifully, and I really liked seeing them grow. And so it got me to thinking, like, how can I get even larger onions? And so it led me to this experiment. And so basically what I'm going to do is, fall planted onions are not new. But what I'm going to do is, or I guess not fall, summer planted. It's about almost mid-August. And so I'm going to sow, I have 4 varieties of onions, which I'll get into. And I'm going to sow all 4 in little blocks inside or outside the greenhouse, inside the greenhouse, and then also a couple rows of them where they won't be transplanted. So the ones that you can see, these wood slats right there, those will mark the areas where I'm going to be putting the densely seeding the onions to create kind of like a carpet basically of onions. But then also further down this row that you can't see right now, I'm actually going to use my seeder, which I just realized I forgot up front, so I'll have to go grab that. But I'm going to go grab my seeder, and I'm going to sow them directly and then not transplant them. And then in the greenhouse, I'm going to do the same exact thing with a little bit of twist. I don't have as much room in the greenhouse, because my tomatoes and peppers and strawberries and eggplants and tomatillo and basil and all that stuff are taking up the majority of the greenhouse. But there is one little corner. So what I'm going to do is the same block style of putting the onions separated by variety into little blocks and kind of seeing how they do. I presume that the onions inside the greenhouse will do better than the onions outside of the greenhouse. And if I were only doing one option, I would just do them inside. But I wanted to see what they looked like outside as well. So I wanted to show you the seeds that I am going to be using. One of you mentioned Osborne seed. And so I went and I looked at their website, and they're local to me in Mount Vernon. And I was pretty impressed. And so I wanted to give them a try. Just a heads up for smaller home gardeners, they don't really sell like packets, like for instance, on their onions, their quantities, the fewest amount is 1,000. And so if you're looking to grow like 20 onions in like a patio garden or something like that, they wouldn't be a good seed company for you just because of the sheer size. The prices aren't bad, but then that's a lot of seeds. But anyways, so I've got their catalog here. And I picked from this side. Here are the long day onions. And so the first one is the red carpet organic. If the organic seeds are available, I get those. If they're not, I just get the regular, but I get them untreated. And so the red carpet organic, which is, it's pictured right there. And another criteria that I wanted is I picked all of the ones that were rated for like large or jumbo, and one colossal. I'll get to that in a second. So red carpet is it's rated, it's a globe and it's a jumbo size, and it says uniform with good internal color, most reliable performer from transplant, which is good because when they're sowed in these thick mats, what I'll do is then I might sell them depending on how well they're doing in the spring, but I'm also going to take them and then put them out into the garden and spread those out. The next one is Frontier, and Frontier is this one right here. And let's see, it says it's large to jumbo, and it says it's a blocky globe with small necks and smooth skin. Small neck is nice because they dry out really well, and that's obviously really important, especially for storage. All of these ones I did select also for storage, just one to sell throughout the year, but also to be able to keep them throughout the year. I love my Walla Wallas, but they only, once you pull them, they only stay good for, I mean, it depends on it, how you store them and stuff like that, but usually it's within a three weeks, 1 month, something like that. They're definitely, their skins are thinner, the sugar content and water content is a lot higher, and it just, they don't preserve well. The next one is Blush, which is a pink onion. The other two were yellow, so I like that. And Blush is pictured right here in the middle. And it says, let's see here, it says coppery, it's rated jumbo. And it says coppery pink skin with white interior and healthy tops and necks that dry down easily. And last but not least, and this is the reason we're going over the varieties, because I wanted to share this with you. So I don't know how to pronounce this. Ailsa, I call it Elisa, but I don't think that's how you pronounce it. Ailsa, Ailsa Craig, or Elisa Craig. These ones, so it's on the website, it's not in the catalog, but they are what's known as, oh, the sun's coming up, sorry. They're what's known as exhibition onions. And I was like, what's that mean? You know, because I try and be like, you know, resourceful when I'm picking out seeds or whatever. And then sometimes things look crazy and I'm like, oh, I must have that. And so the Ailsa Craig, they grow 1 to 3 pounds. And if you want to see a huge onion, like Google that and competition or whatever, and you'll see people like holding an onion that looks like a small child. They say that the flavor is really good too, which is crazy because I would think it would go down, but I'm kind of curious. So I got some of those as well. So I'm really excited. I can't even imagine having a 3-pound onion. That's crazy. So I'm going to give that a try. So these are my 4 varieties that I'm going to be testing in this summer planting onion experiment of growing. Also, if you hear the wind, I apologize. For starting the onions outside and inside the greenhouse, and then also rows on the outside. For, oh, you might be wondering, oh, well, I didn't see any Walla Walla onions. Since I'm going to be onion heavy out here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up the sets in the spring from my local country store. And so that way I have those, and also I can see how the rest of them are going. I love the flavor of Walla Walla, but it's just so hard with like the limited storage capacity. Also, I don't need, you know, like 1,000 Walla Walla onions, because like I said, they don't keep very well, and I don't always have room to hold everything in the field. If you're a home gardener, it's better to hold them a little bit longer in your garden. If you don't need them yet, hold them in your garden a little bit longer before you pull them if you can. But for me, I need to turn the beds over a little bit more quickly. But anyways, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put each of the 4 into the seeder, and I'm just going to make mini rows because I want to see how they do without being transplanted at all, and then compare the size of the ones that are transplanted. So I'm going to go grab that, and then I'll reposition the camera, and I'll just do a fast mode because it's just me walking or whatever. It's the Earthway seeder set with the onion plate. And then when I'm done with that, we will do the seeding in the blocks, and I'll bring you along with that. And then I'll bring you along for the seeding inside the greenhouse. But let me go grab the onion or the Earthway seeder, and then I'll meet you over there. Okay, hold on. Okay, so here I'm just raking out the bed and making sure everything's nice and flat. And I saw a few tiny little weeds, so I picked them out. And then I got my seeds, and that's the Earthway, and it basically just plants as I walk. The Ailsa was first. I did them alphabetically to make it easier. And so I did 2 passes with that just because I have 5,000 seeds. The minimum on that was 5,000. Everything else I did a single pass, and then the last 2 were shorter rows because obviously I have my blocks. And yeah. Okay, so I got the rows seeded with, of course I'll water them in after I get the plots, but I did the rows with the seeder, and so that way I can see how, if there's a difference, if I leave them in the row or if I put them in a tighter area and transplant them out in the spring. I hope there's no difference because that makes it easier. And then yeah, so I'm just gonna seed these in the 4 blocks. And I'm gonna add a little bit of peat moss just kind of on top to help maintain the moisture. And then I'm also gonna add a little bit of azomite. It's basically just trace minerals, mined from rocks. And then it just helps support healthy plant everything, you know? And so I'm gonna kind of mix that in a little bit just with my little hand, and I can see it, my little hand rake, just to try and give these babies the best start imaginable. All right, and try and flatten it out a little bit. Oops. Okay. And then I'm gonna dig shallow furrows, about 1/4 inch, and get these seeded. Oops, there's a big chunk. Okay. All right. That looks good. And so basically I'm going to take half of the seed and put it in, well, probably about 40, because I presume that the greenhouse will produce better. So I'm going to put about 40% of the seed packet out here and then 60% inside. So if I try and eyeball that and then make my little furrows, they're not the world's best lines. And you can just sprinkle these, or you can pretty much any way, because these aren't gonna live in there forever. These seeds were, this is the Isa Craig, the exhibition ones, and they are minimum seed size of 5,000. So I have a little bit more of them. So I'm gonna take these and kind of mix them in there in the furrows. And I'm just hand dropping, I'm not like counting out anything. And I do have more of these, so I'm gonna kind of just mix them in around because I have a whole lot of these seeds. Onion seeds don't keep very well, regardless of kind of how you store them. And so I like to use all the onion seeds. So the other packets are 1,000, but the Isa Craig ones are 5,000, and they're open pollinated, which is cool because I can save some of the seeds or from the biggest ones. See if I can't get a 5-pound onion. So okay, so there's the first one. The first packet or first block is ready to go. So, oh, the corn is shading me from the sun. That's nice. But so I'm gonna put it on fast motion and then do the other 3, and then we'll go to the greenhouse and basically do the same thing. I think I said it, but in case I didn't, these are planted 1/4 inch deep, and that's how deep you want to plant any onion. But okay, hold on just a second. So here I'm just doing the same thing I did in the first block, putting in some peat moss and azomite and mixing it up and making little furrows and dropping the seeds in. I wish it went as quickly as it does in fast mode, but that's okay. And then yeah, just getting all the seeds in for the outside and next to the greenhouse. Okay, so it's so hot. So now we're in the greenhouse, and I'm gonna do the exact same thing minus the rows, because the greenhouse is full of all of the summer goodies. But I do want to, I think I'll get the best results with the onions in the greenhouse, but I'm also curious, because greenhouse space is limited, how much I can get outside of the greenhouse. And so that's why I'm doing it that way. Like, that's one thing I learned about having a greenhouse, is I had all kinds of dreams about how what's it called? This is just the peat moss and azomite. About all the vegetables that I would get in there for like the shoulder season in the fall. Oh, I forgot my little rake thing. That's okay. Oh, actually, I was just sitting on it. That happens a lot. Anyways, but what I kind of failed to realize a little bit was that I've still got all the summer stuff in here. So I'm playing around with different things that I'll do next year, as far as like, do I plant the tomatoes a little thinner and like to make room for fall greens, or so I'm still kind of figuring that out. Obviously I have all throughout the fall and winter to decide that, and I'll also plant things as the greenhouse comes open. I know that what's it called, there's a lot of I know spinach does really well planted when it's cold, and so I guess we'll just see. So same thing again as out there, making a little furrow. The goal is 1/4 inch deep. I'm doing rows just because it's a little easier, and this is newer-ish area that was turned, and so it's a little bit harder. You know, as far as like keeping up on the weeds and stuff like that, because not that long ago this was wild. And this again, I always go alphabetical, so that way in case I forget, though I have this video as a reference, but in case I forget, I know what I have because it's alphabetical. So the Aisa, or I like Alyssa, but I think it's Aisa, goes first, and I've got more of those seeds again because the minimum whatever was quantity was 5,000, so we're doing 5,000. And then after I put the seeds in, and you should do this of course with any seed, you'll notice that I'm like tamping it down, and that's because you really want to get good contact with seed to soil, and so that's really important. And so that's of course what I'm doing here. And then so I just finished that one, and fingers crossed, I'm excited to see the outcomes of the trials and see how everybody does. And of course I hope on the other end I have really huge jumbo onions that are delicious and all kinds of stuff. I guess time will tell, but I'm gonna let you go, and then I'll do the other 3, and then I'll get some water on everything, and then I guess I'll just check in. I'll definitely do a full video coming maybe in the spring, probably around transplant time, and then of course in the summer to see how everything went. And any seed really can be used. I'm just really gunning for those large, like the biggest onions, large, jumbo, and colossal. But anyways, thank you for watching the experiment. Hopefully it turns out okay, and happy gardening. Bye.